Thank you very much for joining me in this video. I want to talk to you today about a new form available called the 652. And it's designed to help us comply with the provisions of TRESA. Now, with the rollout of TRESA on December the 1st, the Ontario Real Estate Association has been working very diligently behind the scenes trying to create a myriad of forms that will help you and I comply with the Act. And I should say there are a ton of forms coming out. I was away for a week holiday in February, and before I left, I was preparing a booklet that I was going to use for TRESA implementation training. And I wanted to include some of the forms, and there was one form I was waiting for a final revision on, and it came through the day I was leaving. I incorporated that into the booklet. I got back a week later and discovered that Ontario Real Estate Association had rolled out 13 new forms while I was away. There's a ton of forms. Some of them are extremely useful. Some of them you may never use. For example, there's the Form 244. You're probably aware of that. You use the 244 when the seller is saying, I want to delay offers for a certain time, and that's when the presentation is going to be taking place. What you may not be aware is there's a 224, and the purpose of the 224 is to explain what the 244 is all about. And so you go through with your seller the 224 and make sure they understand the provisions of the 244. So there's forms and forms and forms and forms. But the one form I want you to be aware of and make sure you use is the 652. There's a number of things that the 652 is intended to accomplish. One of the things, for example, right at the very start, is a notification of the number of offers that are coming in. And it states in there, number of completing offers, it's got the date and it's got the time, because it could change within a half an hour or an hour and you got to update it. And what it says on there is, in accordance with the provisions of the Trust and Real Estate Services Act, the brokerage shall disclose the existence of the number of competing offers, written offers, to every person who's making one of the competing offers. And so this is designed to fulfill that particular obligation of TRESA. There's also a little box in there, and the box is used to tick off where it says the seller has directed the brokerage or the designated representative to disclose the substance or part thereof of any competing written offer in accordance with the provisions of TRESA. So if your seller has decided at the time that you're filling out this form that they're going to open it up, they tick that box off. And you may want to notify people ahead of time to bring an offer in. I probably wouldn't. I think if they know they're going to get another kick at the can, they're not going to come in with their highest offer. They don't know that, they're more likely to. But if you know in advance, you tick that box off, you're notifying people, and some buyers may not put in an offer because they don't want to be having their offer shopped. That's how you fulfill that one. And of course, along with ticking off that box, you want to use the Form 209, which is the seller direction to share substance of offers. So you want to have that completed as well. Then we go on, and there's provision if there's special circumstances for the commission. And that may be the case. I think a number of realtors are in the habit of doing this. They take a listing and they say to the seller, now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I double end it, I will reduce the commission. They might say, well, I'll take it for 5%, but if I double end it, I'll do for 4%. That's a special provision. Or an offer could come in and the buyer may be a realtor themselves or a relative of the realtor, and they're waiving part or all of the commission. Those are a special circumstance that all the parties who are submitting offers need to be told in writing ahead of time. And this form 652 has provision to do exactly that. It says that as of such and such day, so and so, there's an agreement relating to commission or other remuneration that could create an incentive for the seller to accept certain offers. And so that's in your 652. But there's another provision of the Act that's always been a problem that this form is meant to address. And I want you to understand this. And it deals with multiple representation. I want you to imagine that Mark Avedisian lists a really hot property, and Mark's quite capable of doing that. There's a lot of activity and interest in this property, and a number of offers come in. Let's suppose from LePage, 3 offers are going to come in on this particular property. Well, depending on whether the agents who are drafting the offers are designated representatives or whether they're doing it in a brokerage representation, they may have multiple representation. And if they have multiple representation, they got to notify their clients and get express consent in writing. The problem is, how do they know? If there's 3 different people that have each shown the property and each one are procuring an offer, the other ones don't know about each other, and yet they're in a multiple representation situation, or could be, and they've got to disclose. It was one of the problems when they rolled out TRESA. We were saying, how are we going to implement that? Well, this form, Form 652, is intended to resolve that problem. It goes on to, first of all, it talks about the fact that there's so many competing offers, but it goes on and it says, as of such and such a time, on the day of such and such, the listing broker has received multiple buyer offers from, and then you list the brokerage that they come from. So the listing brokerage, Mark in this case, would send that information off to a page together with who the agents are, and he'd either send it directly to the agents or to the manager or broker, and it's up to them to sort it out, find out whether they're brokerage representation. If they are brokerage representation, they've got multiple representation. They need to go to each one of the parties, get express consent before they present the offers. They don't have to involve the seller, because the seller isn't involved in multiple representation here. It's the 3 buyers that would be in competition with each other. And so this form helps us wrestle with that problem and come up with a solution. Really important, the 652. I hope that makes sense. As you're going through, familiarize yourself with a lot of the new forms, but especially the 652. Zero down on it, and it'll help you stay in compliance with TRESA. Thank you very much for investing your time in this video. I look forward to talking to you again next week.